The large concert hall was almost empty now. The last few people were leaving through the heavy wooden doors. Their footsteps echoed on the marble floor. Outside, the sun was setting over the city of Vienna. The sky was turning orange and pink. Marcus Chen stood on the stage looking at his piano. He had just finished his practice session. Tomorrow night, this hall would be full of people. They would all come to hear him play. The tickets were sold out weeks ago. Marcus was one of the best pianists in Europe. Everyone knew his name. He wiped his forehead with a white towel. The practice had been long and tiring. But Marcus was happy with his work. He knew he would give a perfect performance tomorrow. He always did. That was why people paid so much money to see him. Marcus was 32 years old. He had been playing piano since he was 4. His parents had pushed him hard. They wanted him to be the best. And he was. He had won competitions all over the world. He had played in the finest concert halls in London, New York, Tokyo, and Paris. Now he lived in Vienna, the city of music. But success had changed Marcus. He had become proud. He thought he was better than other people. He would make jokes about musicians who were not as good as him. He would laugh at people who made mistakes. His friends did not like this side of him, but they said nothing. Marcus was too famous, too important. The stage manager called out to him. "We are closing up now, Mr. Chen. Is there anything else you need?" Marcus shook his head. "No, I am done. Thank you." The stage manager nodded and walked away. His footsteps faded into the distance. Soon Marcus heard the sound of doors closing. The building was getting quiet. Very quiet. Marcus gathered his sheet music. He put it carefully into his leather bag. This bag had traveled with him all around the world. It was expensive and beautiful. Everything Marcus owned was expensive and beautiful. As he was getting ready to leave, he heard a sound. It was soft, like a brush moving across wood. Marcus turned around. Someone was still in the hall. An old woman was walking slowly across the stage. She was pushing a cleaning cart. The cart had wheels that squeaked. On the cart were bottles of cleaning spray, cloths, and a bucket. The woman wore a simple gray uniform. Her hair was tied back in a bun. It was more gray than black. Marcus watched her for a moment. She did not look at him. She just pushed her cart toward the piano. The big, beautiful piano that Marcus had just been playing. The woman stopped next to the piano. She reached into her cart and pulled out a soft yellow cloth. Then she did something that made Marcus pay attention. She touched the piano very gently. Her fingers moved over the black surface like she was touching something precious, something holy. She began to clean the piano. But she did not clean it the way most people would. She was very careful, very slow. She wiped each part of the piano with great care. When she reached the keys, she cleaned each one separately. White key, black key, white key, black key. One by one, Marcus found this interesting. Most cleaners just wiped things quickly and moved on. But this old woman was different. She cleaned the piano like it was the most important thing in the world. He walked closer to her. His expensive shoes made clicking sounds on the stage floor. The old woman heard him and looked up. Her face was lined with wrinkles. Her eyes were dark brown. They looked tired but kind. "Good evening," she said softly. Her voice had an accent. Marcus could not tell where she was from. Maybe Russia. Maybe somewhere else in Eastern Europe. "Good evening," Marcus replied. He stood there watching her work. The woman went back to cleaning the keys. She was almost finished now. Marcus noticed her hands. They were old and rough. The skin was dry and cracked. These were hands that had worked hard for many years. These were not the soft hands of someone who had an easy life, but there was something about the way she touched the piano, something that made Marcus curious. She did not just wipe the keys. She pressed them gently, feeling each one, like she was remembering something. Marcus felt a strange urge. He wanted to say something. Usually he did not talk to cleaners or janitors. He barely noticed them. But tonight he felt like making a joke. Maybe he was bored. Maybe he just wanted to feel superior to someone. "You touch that piano like you know something about it," Marcus said. His voice had a mocking tone. "Do you play?" The old woman stopped cleaning. She looked at him for a moment. Her expression did not change. "I used to," she said quietly. Marcus smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Oh, really? What did you play? Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star?" The woman did not answer. She just continued cleaning. This annoyed Marcus. He was used to getting reactions from people. When he made a joke, people laughed. When he said something smart, people nodded and looked impressed. But this old cleaning woman just ignored him. "I am serious," Marcus said, his voice louder now. "You clean this piano like you understand it? Like you have some special connection to it." The woman finished wiping the last key. She folded her cloth neatly and put it back in the cart. Then she looked at Marcus again. "I do understand it," she said simply. Marcus laughed. It was a mean laugh. "Is that so? And what do you understand about this piano? Do you know this is a Steinway Model D? Do you know it costs more than 200,000 euros? Do you know that only the best pianists in the world get to play instruments like this?" "Yes," the woman said. "I know." Her calm answer made Marcus more annoyed. Who did this cleaning woman think she was? Did she not know who he was? Did she not understand her place? Behind them, Marcus heard voices. Some of the stage crew were still there, packing up equipment. They were talking and laughing about something. Marcus saw them looking in his direction. They had noticed he was talking to the cleaning woman. An idea came to Marcus. A mean idea. A joke that would make the crew laugh. A joke that would remind everyone, including this strange old woman, about who was important and who was not. "Tell you what," Marcus said loudly, so the crew could hear. "Why don't you show me what you know? Why don't you play something for me?" The crew members stopped talking. They turned to look. Marcus saw them smile and elbow each other. They thought this was funny. They knew Marcus was being cruel. The old woman looked at Marcus. Then she looked at the piano. Then back at Marcus. She did not look embarrassed. She did not look angry. She just looked thoughtful. "You want me to play?" she asked. "Yes," Marcus said. He crossed his arms over his chest. "I want to see this great understanding you have. I want to hear what a cleaning woman knows about piano. Please be my guest. The stage is yours." He made a big, dramatic gesture toward the piano bench. The crew members were watching now. One of them had his phone out, maybe ready to record this. They all expected the same thing. They expected the old woman to say no and walk away. Or maybe she would try to play and embarrass herself. Either way, it would be funny. But the old woman surprised them all. She stood very still for a moment, looking at the piano. Her eyes had a faraway look, like she was seeing something from long ago, something from another life. "You really want me to play?" she asked again. Her voice was soft but steady. "Yes," Marcus said. "I really do, unless you were lying about understanding the piano. Unless you were just pretending." The woman took a deep breath. She seemed to be making a decision. A difficult decision. Then she nodded slowly. "Okay," she said. "I will play for you." Marcus was surprised. He had not expected her to say yes. For a moment he did not know what to say, but then his confidence came back. This would be even funnier than he thought. He would let her embarrass herself and then everyone would have a good laugh. "Wonderful," Marcus said. He walked over to the piano bench and pulled it out slightly, like a gentleman pulling out a chair for a lady. But his gesture was mocking, not polite. "Please sit down." The old woman walked slowly to the piano. She left her cleaning cart at the side of the stage. As she walked, Marcus noticed something. Her posture changed. She stood straighter. Her steps became more sure. She reached the bench and looked at it for a moment. Then she adjusted it, moving it back a little. Marcus frowned. She had moved it to the exact position he liked. How did she know? The woman sat down on the bench. She placed her rough, worn hands on her lap. She looked at the keys. She did not touch them yet. She just looked. Marcus walked to the side of the stage. He leaned against a wall, his arms still crossed. The crew members moved closer too. They wanted to see this. One of them was definitely recording now. "Whenever you're ready," Marcus called out. His voice echoed in the big, empty hall. The woman closed her eyes. She sat there with her eyes closed for several long seconds. Marcus began to feel impatient. Was she stalling? Was she trying to think of some simple song she knew? Then the woman lifted her hands. They hung in the air above the keys for just a moment. Her fingers were curved, positioned perfectly. Marcus recognized this position. It was the proper form. The form that took years to learn. He felt the first small flutter of doubt in his chest. But no, that was impossible. This was just a cleaning woman. She probably had a few lessons when she was young. That was all. The woman's hands came down on the keys. And in that moment, everything changed. The first notes that came from the piano were not simple. They were not the fumbling sounds of an amateur. They were the opening notes of Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, one of the hardest pieces ever written, one of the most beautiful. Marcus felt his heart skip. No, this could not be happening. But it was happening. The woman's fingers moved across the keys with perfect precision. The notes flowed like water, like poetry, like something from another world. The melody filled the concert hall. It rose up to the high ceiling. It wrapped around the empty seats. It seemed to make the whole building breathe with music. Marcus's mouth fell open. His arms dropped to his sides. He could not believe what he was hearing. This was not possible. This was not real. The crew members had stopped smiling. They stood frozen, their faces full of shock. The one who had been recording held his phone steady, but his hand was shaking. The music got louder, more powerful. The woman's entire body moved with the rhythm. Her shoulders swayed. Her feet pressed the pedals at exactly the right moments. Every note was perfect. Every phrase was filled with emotion. And then Marcus saw the tears. They were running down the old woman's face. She played with her eyes closed, tears streaming down her wrinkled cheeks. But her fingers never missed a note. They never hesitated. They knew exactly where to go. The music built and built. It filled every corner of the hall. It was the most beautiful thing Marcus had ever heard. More beautiful than his own playing. More beautiful than any recording he had ever listened to. Because this was not just technical skill. This was not just someone who knew how to press the right keys. This was someone playing from the soul, playing from a place of deep pain and deep love, playing like their life depended on it. Marcus felt something break inside him. His pride cracked like glass. His arrogance crumbled like dust. He realized in this terrible, wonderful moment that he had made a huge mistake. He had mocked someone extraordinary. He had treated greatness like it was nothing. The music reached its first climax. The notes thundered through the hall. The woman's hands moved so fast they were almost a blur, but every movement was controlled. Every sound was exactly right. Marcus sank down to the floor. He sat there, his back against the wall, staring at the old woman playing his piano. Tears filled his own eyes. He did not try to stop them. Around him, the crew members stood like statues. No one moved. No one spoke. They barely breathed. They all understood that they were witnessing something impossible, something miraculous. The first section of the piece came to an end. The woman's hands slowed. The notes became softer, gentler, like a storm turning into rain. And then she stopped. Her hands rested on the keys. She kept her eyes closed. More tears fell down her face. The silence that followed was complete. No one in that concert hall made a sound. They could not. The music had taken their voices away. Marcus looked at the old woman sitting at his piano. Her gray uniform, her worn shoes, her rough hands. And he knew that everything he thought he knew about the world was wrong. Everything he believed about people was a lie he had told himself. This was not a cleaning woman. This was a musician. A real musician. Maybe even greater than he would ever be. Finally, Marcus found his voice. It came out as a whisper. "Who are you?" The old woman opened her eyes slowly. She looked down at her hands on the piano keys. Her fingers were still trembling slightly. The tears on her face were drying now, leaving wet trails down her wrinkled cheeks. She did not answer Marcus's question right away. Instead, she lifted her hands from the keys and placed them in her lap. She sat very still, like someone waking up from a long dream, a dream that was both beautiful and sad. Marcus pushed himself up from the floor. His legs felt weak. He walked slowly toward the piano, toward the woman. His mind was racing with questions. How could a cleaner play like that? Where did she learn? Why was she working here, pushing a cart, wiping floors? The crew members were moving now, too. They came closer to the stage, their faces full of wonder and confusion. The young man with the phone was still recording. His hands were shaking so much that the video would probably be unclear. But he kept filming anyway. "Please," Marcus said. His voice was different now. The mocking tone was gone. The pride was gone. He sounded humble, almost afraid. "Please tell me who you are." The woman looked up at him. Her brown eyes met his. In those eyes, Marcus saw so much. He saw pain. He saw loss. He saw memories of things that happened long ago. But he also saw strength, a strength that had survived many hard years. "My name is Elena," she said. Her voice was quiet but clear. "Elena Petrova." Marcus shook his head. No, I mean, who are you? Where did you learn to play like that? That was Rachmaninoff. That was one of the hardest pieces in the world. You played it perfectly. Better than perfect. You played it with... He could not find the words. How could he describe what he had just heard? It was beyond description. It was beyond anything he had ever experienced. With feeling, Elena finished for him. Yes, I played it with feeling. Because I have felt many things in my life. Pain, loss, love. All of these things, they come through the music. One of the crew members spoke up. It was a young woman named Sarah. She worked with the lights. Are you a professional pianist? She asked. Were you famous? Elena smiled. It was a sad smile. Once, she said. A long time ago. In another life, Marcus pulled up a chair. He sat down in front of Elena, looking up at her. He needed to understand. He needed to know her story. Tell me, he said, please. Tell me everything. Elena was quiet for a moment. She looked around the concert hall. Her eyes moved over the red velvet seats, the golden decorations on the walls, the huge chandelier hanging from the ceiling. This place was beautiful. This place was everything she had lost. I was born in Moscow, she began. In Russia. A long time ago. 67 years ago, to be exact. The crew members found places to sit. They all wanted to hear this story. Even the stage manager, who had been about to lock up the building, came back. He stood at the edge of the stage, listening. My mother was a piano teacher, Elena continued. My father was a violinist in the Moscow Symphony Orchestra. Music was our life. It was everything to us. When I was 3 years old, my mother noticed something. I could hear a song once and play it back on the piano. Every note, perfect. Marcus leaned forward. He knew what that meant. That was called perfect pitch. It was very rare. Only one person in 10,000 had it. My parents were very happy, Elena said, but also scared. They knew that if I had this gift, I would have a different life. Not an easy life. But they supported me. They encouraged me, she paused, remembering. Her eyes looked far away, seeing things that happened decades ago. I started lessons when I was 4. By the time I was 7, I was giving small concerts. By 10, I was playing in important halls in Moscow. People said I was a prodigy, a genius. They said I would be one of the greatest pianists Russia had ever produced. And you were, Marcus said quietly. He understood now. This was not just a talented amateur. This was someone who had been at the top. Someone who should have been famous all over the world. I was accepted to the Moscow Conservatory when I was 16, Elena continued. This was a huge honor. The Moscow Conservatory was one of the best music schools in the world. Only the very best students got in. I studied there for 5 years. My teachers said I had something special. Not just technical skill, but soul, heart. I could make the piano sing in ways that other students could not. She looked down at her rough, worn hands, hands that had just played like an angel, hands that now cleaned toilets and mopped floors. When I graduated, I was 21 years old. I was given a position with the Moscow Philharmonic. I traveled all over the Soviet Union giving concerts, Leningrad, Kiev, Minsk, Tbilisi. Everywhere I went, the halls were full. People loved my playing. So what happened? Sarah asked. Why are you here? Why are you... She could not finish the sentence. Why are you cleaning? Why are you pushing a cart instead of playing in concert halls? Elena's expression changed. The memories she was seeing now were darker, more painful. In those days in the Soviet Union, everything was controlled by the government, she said. What you said, what you did, what you played. Artists were not free. We had to follow the rules. We had to support the Communist Party. We had to say the right things. Marcus nodded. He knew some history. He knew that the Soviet Union had been very strict with artists and writers. But I was young, Elena said, and I was stupid. I thought my talent would protect me. I thought that because people loved my music, I could say what I felt. I was wrong, she took a deep breath. This part of the story was hard to tell. I was 25 years old. I had just played a concert in Moscow. A very important concert. There were government officials there. Important people. After the concert, there was a reception. People were drinking champagne and eating fancy food. Everyone was talking about how wonderful the music was. One of the officials came to talk to me. He told me that the government wanted to control what music I played. They wanted me to play only Russian composers, only Soviet composers. They wanted me to travel to other countries and show the world how great Soviet culture was. But I would have to read speeches they wrote for me. I would have to say things I did not believe. The stage manager, an older man named Franz, shook his head. They wanted to use you for propaganda, he said. Yes, Elena agreed. That is exactly right. Propaganda. I did not want to be propaganda. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to play music from all over the world. Beethoven, Chopin, Rachmaninoff, yes, but also Bach and Mozart. I wanted to play for people, not for politics. And you said no, Marcus guessed. Elena nodded. I said no. I was polite, but I was clear. I told the official that I was an artist, not a politician. I told him that music should not be used for politics. Music should be free. She closed her eyes, remembering that moment, the moment when her whole life changed. The official's face turned very cold. He told me I was making a big mistake. He told me to think carefully about my answer. But I did not change my mind. I thought I was being brave. I thought I was doing the right thing. The hall was completely silent. Everyone was listening to every word. A week later, I was fired from the Moscow Philharmonic. They said it was for administrative reasons. But everyone knew the truth. I had spoken against the government. I had refused to obey. I tried to find other work. But no one would hire me. Every orchestra, every concert hall, they all said no. The government had blacklisted me. My name was poison. If anyone worked with me, they would be punished too. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. This was so unfair, so wrong. My recordings were destroyed, Elena continued. All the concerts I had played, all the music I had recorded, they erased it all. They wanted to pretend I never existed. My name was removed from programs. My photographs were taken down. It was like I disappeared. Sarah wiped tears from her eyes. That's horrible, she whispered. I tried to keep playing, Elena said. I would play in small cafes in people's homes. But the government found out. They sent police to stop my concerts. They threatened the people who invited me. They made it impossible for me to play anywhere. Then one night the police came to my apartment. They told me that if I did not stop trying to perform, they would arrest me. They would send me to Siberia to a work camp. I knew they were serious. Many artists had disappeared for less. She paused, her hands gripping the edge of the piano bench. So I ran away. I had a friend who helped me. We planned everything very carefully. I left with only a small bag. Some clothes. Some photographs. Nothing else. I left my whole life behind. I escaped through Poland, then Germany. It took months. It was very dangerous. Many times I thought I would be caught. But finally I made it to Austria. To Vienna. I was free. But I had nothing. Marcus understood now. He understood why she was here, why she was cleaning. But he still had questions. Why didn't you try to play here? He asked. In Vienna? You could have auditioned for orchestras. You could have found work as a pianist. Elena's smile was bitter. I tried, she said. For the first year I tried many times. But I had no credentials. My degrees from Moscow meant nothing here. I had no recordings to show people. No letters of recommendation. And I did not speak German very well. I could barely speak English. I would go to auditions, but I was competing against young people from the best schools in Europe. People with perfect resumes and famous teachers. Who was I? Just a Russian refugee with a strange story. No one believed me when I told them I had been a soloist with the Moscow Philharmonic. Franz, the stage manager, spoke up. But couldn't you have just played for them? Like you just played now? Anyone who heard that would have given you a job. Elena shook her head. You would think so, but no. I was so nervous at auditions, so afraid. Years of being told I could not play, years of being silenced, it damaged something inside me. When I tried to play for audition committees, my hands would shake. I would make mistakes. Simple mistakes that I never made before. And there was something else. The piece I loved most, the piece I played best, was Rachmaninoff. But Rachmaninoff reminded me of Russia, of everything I had lost. Every time I played it, I would start crying. I could not control it. The emotion was too strong. She looked at the piano keys, so I stopped trying. I thought maybe it was God's way of telling me that my time as a pianist was over. Maybe I was supposed to do something else with my life. I needed money to survive. I took any job I could find. I worked in a restaurant kitchen. I cleaned offices. I did laundry in a hotel. Slowly, I built a new life, a small life, a quiet life. And then, 15 years ago, I got this job, cleaning this concert hall. At first it was torture. Every night I would come here and hear other people play. Good players, bad players. It did not matter. They got to play and I did not. But slowly I made peace with it. I told myself that I was still part of the music world, even if I was just cleaning. I could still touch the pianos. I could still be near the music. That was enough. It had to be enough. Marcus felt shame wash over him. All this time, this extraordinary woman had been working in this building. She had been invisible to everyone, to him. He had walked past cleaners 1,000 times and never really seen them. Never thought about who they were or what their stories might be. I am so sorry, he said. His voice broke. I am so sorry for what I said. For how I treated you. I was cruel. I was stupid. Elena looked at him with kind eyes. You did not know, she said. How could you know? I am just an old cleaning woman to you. To everyone. No, Marcus said firmly. You are not just anything. You are a great pianist, maybe one of the greatest I have ever heard. The crew members all nodded. They agreed completely. Why did you agree to play tonight? Marcus asked. After all these years of not playing, why now? Elena thought about this. I am not sure, she said honestly. Maybe because I am old now. 67 years old. I thought, what am I waiting for? What am I afraid of? The worst has already happened to me. The Soviet Union does not even exist anymore. The people who hurt me are probably dead now. Or maybe, she continued, I was just tired of being invisible, tired of being silent. When you challenged me, something woke up inside me, something I thought was dead. I thought just this once I will play again, even if it is just for this arrogant young man and a few stage workers. I will play one more time. She smiled then, a real smile. And it felt wonderful. For those few minutes I was myself again. I was Elena Petrova, the pianist, not Elena, the cleaning woman. I was alive again. Marcus stood up. An idea was forming in his mind. A crazy idea, maybe even an impossible idea. But he had to try. Elena, he said, tomorrow night I have a concert. The biggest concert of my Vienna season. The hall will be full. Every seat is sold. Elena nodded. Yes, I know. I will clean the hall after you perform. No, Marcus said. You will not clean after I perform. You will perform with me. Elena stared at Marcus like he had gone crazy. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Around them, the crew members looked shocked too. Sarah gasped. Franz took off his glasses and cleaned them like maybe he had not heard correctly. What? Elena finally managed to say. No, that is impossible. You cannot be serious. I'm completely serious, Marcus said. His heart was beating fast. Now that he had said it out loud, the idea seemed even more important, even more right. Tomorrow night you will play with me. In front of everyone. Elena stood up from the piano bench. She shook her head firmly. No, Marcus. That is a very kind thought, but no, I cannot do that. I'm an old woman. I have not performed in public for 30 years. And tomorrow night people are coming to hear you, not me. They are coming to hear great music, Marcus corrected her. And what you just played was greater than anything I have ever played in my life. You are being emotional, Elena said. She was already walking back to her cleaning cart. You heard me play one piece in an empty hall and it surprised you. But this does not mean I should perform in a concert. I would embarrass you. I would embarrass myself, Marcus followed her. Elena, please. Listen to me. What you have is rare, so rare. I have perfect technique. I have training. I have won competitions. But what you have is something else. Something I can never learn. You have lived through things I cannot imagine. You have felt pain I have never felt. When you play, all of that comes through. It is not just music. It is truth. Elena grabbed the handle of her cart. I am going back to work now. I have 3 more floors to clean tonight. Wait, Sarah said. She had been quiet, but now she spoke up. I recorded what you played. On my phone. Can I show you something? Elena looked uncertain, but she nodded. Sarah came up on the stage. She held out her phone. On the screen was the video she had taken. She pressed play. The sound quality was not perfect. The phone microphone could not capture everything. But even through the phone speaker, Elena's playing was extraordinary. The emotion in the music was clear, powerful, undeniable. Elena watched the video. She saw herself sitting at the piano, tears running down her face. She heard the music pouring out. For 30 years, she had not heard herself play. She had forgotten what it sounded like, what it looked like. When the video ended, Elena was crying again. I did not know, she whispered. I did not remember it was like this. It was like this, Marcus said gently. It was exactly like this. And it would be wrong to keep this hidden. It would be wrong to let you go back to cleaning floors when you could be sharing this gift with the world. But I am not ready, Elena protested. I would need time to practice, to prepare. You cannot just put someone on stage with no preparation. You just played Rachmaninoff perfectly with no preparation, Franz pointed out. He had come closer too. I have worked in this concert hall for 35 years. I have heard thousands of pianists. What you just did, that was beyond anything I have experienced. Elena looked around at all their faces. They were all looking at her with hope, with excitement, like she was something special. She had not been looked at like that in so long. For 30 years, people looked through her, not at her. She was invisible. A ghost. What would I even play? She asked. Her resistance was weakening. Marcus could see it. What do you want to play? Marcus asked. What piece means the most to you? Elena did not have to think. Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto No. 2, she said immediately. The full piece. All 3 movements. That is the piece I would play if I could play anything. Marcus smiled. Then that is what you will play. I will conduct for you. No, wait, better idea. I will play the orchestra part on a second piano. We will perform the 2-piano version. There is a 2-piano version? Sarah asked. Yes, Marcus explained. For when an orchestra is not available. The composer arranged it himself. One piano plays the solo part. The other plays all the orchestra parts. It is very difficult. Both parts are very difficult. But it can be beautiful. He turned back to Elena. We will practice tomorrow, all day. You play the solo part. I will play the orchestra part. By tomorrow night, we will be ready. This is crazy, Elena said. But she was smiling now. A small smile, but a real one. It is crazy, Marcus agreed. Completely crazy. But the best things in life are usually a little bit crazy. Elena looked at the piano, then at Marcus, then at the crew members who were all nodding encouragement. She thought about her life. 67 years, most of them good, some of them terrible, but all of them leading to this moment. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, I will do it. Everyone erupted in cheers. Sarah hugged Elena. Franz clapped Marcus on the back. Even the stage manager who had been trying to close the building was smiling and clapping. But I have conditions, Elena said. She held up her hand to quiet everyone. First, if I make mistakes in practice tomorrow, if I cannot do it, we cancel the plan. I will not embarrass you or myself. Agreed, Marcus said. Second, I need to tell my supervisor that I cannot work tomorrow. I will probably be fired for missing work. Can you help me find another job if that happens? You will never clean another floor in your life, Marcus promised. I will make sure of that. But yes, I will take responsibility for you missing work. Elena nodded. And third, this is important. I do not want to do this for fame. I do not want attention. I just want to play music one more time, one real time with a real audience. After that, I can die happy. After tomorrow night, you will decide what you want to do next, Marcus said. But I think once people hear you play, you will have many opportunities. That will be your choice to make. Elena took a deep breath. Okay then, we have a deal. Marcus looked at his watch. It was already past midnight. We should all get some sleep. Elena, can you come here tomorrow at 9 in the morning? We will have all day to practice. I will be here, Elena promised. Do you need money for a taxi? Or I can drive you home, Marcus offered. Elena shook her head. I live close. I can walk. I have walked home from this building for 15 years. But thank you. Then I will see you tomorrow morning, Marcus said. He wanted to say more. He wanted to apologize again for his cruelty. He wanted to thank her for agreeing to perform. But the words felt too small, too inadequate for what he was feeling. Elena seemed to understand. She patted his arm gently. Tomorrow, she said simply. She pushed her cleaning cart off the stage. They all watched her go. Her figure grew smaller as she walked up the aisle toward the exit. Then she pushed through the doors and was gone. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Franz let out a long breath. Did that really just happen? He asked. I think so, Sarah said. But I am still not sure I believe it. Marcus sat down on the stage floor. His legs felt weak again. So much had happened in the last hour. He had gone from being a proud, arrogant man to someone who felt humbled and small, but also excited, more excited than he had been in years. "Sarah," he said, "can you send me that video? The one you took?" "Of course," Sarah said. She tapped on her phone. "What is your number?" Marcus gave her his number. A few seconds later, his phone buzzed. He opened the video and watched it again. Watched Elena playing. Watched the tears on her face. Listened to the incredible music. "What are you going to tell the concert organizers?" Franz asked. "They sold tickets for you to perform solo. Now you are adding someone, a complete unknown. They might not like that." Marcus thought about this. Franz was right. The concert organizers might be angry. The audience might feel cheated. They had paid to see Marcus Chen, famous pianist. Not Marcus Chen and some old cleaning woman they had never heard of. But Marcus did not care. "I will handle it," he said. "I will talk to them first thing tomorrow morning. I will explain everything. And if they do not like it, they can cancel the whole concert. I will not perform without Elena." Franz smiled. "Good," he said. "That is the right answer." The crew members started to pack up their equipment. It was very late now. They all needed to go home and sleep. But they were all talking excitedly about what they had witnessed, about what might happen tomorrow night. Marcus walked to the piano. He sat on the bench where Elena had sat. The bench was still warm from her body heat. He placed his hands on the keys where her hands had been. Then he began to play. Not Rachmaninoff. Something simpler. A Chopin nocturne, soft and gentle. He played it for Elena even though she was gone. He played it as a promise that tomorrow night would be special, a promise that he would not let her down. When he finished, he stood up and gathered his things. He walked out of the concert hall into the cool night air. The streets of Vienna were quiet. A few cars passed by. A couple walked hand in hand on the sidewalk. Marcus walked to where his car was parked. It was an expensive car, a BMW. Everything Marcus owned was expensive. But tonight these things felt empty. What did it matter if he had a nice car, if he had no soul? What did it matter if he was famous, if he was not a good person? He drove home slowly. His apartment was in a beautiful building in the first district. Old, historic, the kind of place tourists took pictures of. His apartment had high ceilings and large windows. It was filled with expensive furniture and artwork. But when Marcus walked in, it felt cold, empty. He had lived here for 5 years, but it did not feel like home. It felt like a hotel, a place to sleep between concerts and tours. He made himself some tea and sat by the window. He could see the lights of Vienna spread out below him. Somewhere out there, Elena was in her small apartment. Probably a tiny place, probably old and worn, but it was her home. She had built a life there, a real life. Marcus thought about his own life. Yes, he was successful. Yes, he was famous. But was he happy? Was he a good person? Tonight, he had to admit the answer was no. He was not happy, and he was definitely not a good person. But maybe that could change. Maybe tomorrow was a chance to start over, to become someone better. He picked up his phone and watched Sarah's video one more time. He listened to Elena's playing. He saw the emotion on her face, and he made a decision. Tomorrow night would not just be about music. It would not just be about giving Elena a chance to perform again. It would be about showing everyone that talent and greatness can be found anywhere, in anyone, even in an old cleaning woman that people walk past without seeing. He would tell Elena's story. He would make sure people understood who she was, what she had survived, what she had lost, and what she still had inside her. Marcus finished his tea and went to bed, but he could not sleep. His mind was racing with plans. How would he arrange the 2-piano version? He needed to get the sheet music. He needed to practice his part. He needed to call the concert organizers. So many things to do. Finally, around 3 in the morning, he fell asleep. He dreamed about music, about an old woman playing piano with tears on her face, about a concert hall full of people rising to their feet in applause. When his alarm went off at 7:30, Marcus jumped out of bed immediately. He felt more awake, more alive than he had felt in years. He showered quickly and dressed in comfortable clothes, jeans and a simple shirt, practice clothes. He made coffee and checked his phone. There was a text from Sarah. "I can't stop thinking about last night. I've watched that video 20 times. I hope today goes well." Marcus smiled and texted back, "Thank you. See you tonight." Then he called the concert hall's director. Her name was Margarete. She was a stern, serious woman in her 60s. She had run the concert hall for 20 years. "Marcus," she said when she answered, "it is very early." "What is wrong?" "Nothing is wrong," Marcus said. "But I need to talk to you about tonight's concert. There has been a change to the program." "A change?" Margaret's voice became sharp. "What kind of change?" "The concert is tonight. We cannot change anything now." "I am adding a guest artist," Marcus said. "She will play Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto No. 2. I will accompany her on a second piano." There was silence on the other end of the line. Then Margaret said, "Who is this guest artist? Why have I not heard about this before?" "Her name is Elena Petrova, and you have not heard about her because she has not performed in 30 years. 30 years? Margaret sounded angry now. "Marcus, what are you doing? You cannot bring some unknown amateur on stage at a sold-out concert. The audience will demand refunds." "She is not an amateur," Marcus said calmly. "She was a soloist with the Moscow Philharmonic. She is extraordinary. Better than me, if I am honest." "If she was so extraordinary, where has she been for 30 years? Margaret demanded. "She's been cleaning your concert hall," Marcus said. Another long silence. "What?" Margaret said finally. "Elena Petrova has been working as a cleaner in your building for 15 years. Last night I asked her to play as a joke. As a cruel joke. But when she played, everything changed. Margarete, I have never heard anything like it. You need to trust me on this." "Marcus, this is insane. I cannot allow it." "Then cancel the concert," Marcus said. His voice was firm. "I will not perform without Elena. That is not negotiable." "You are under contract," Margaret warned. "Then sue me," Marcus replied. "But I will not change my mind." Margaret was quiet for a long moment. Marcus could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. He knew she was thinking, calculating. A cancelled concert would be a disaster. They would have to refund thousands of euros. The newspapers would write about it. It would be a scandal. "Let me hear her play first," Margaret said finally. "I will come to the hall this morning. If she's as good as you say, we can discuss it. If she is not, the concert proceeds as planned. With just you, agreed?" "Agreed," Marcus said. He was confident. Once Margaret heard Elena play, there would be no question. "I will be there at 10, Margaret said. Then she hung up. Marcus looked at the clock. It was 8:15. He needed to get to the concert hall. Elena would be there at 9. They had a lot of work to do. Marcus arrived at the concert hall at 8:45. The morning sun was shining through the tall windows. The building was quiet. Most of the staff would not arrive until later. He used his key to get in through the back entrance. As he walked through the empty hallways, he thought about what was going to happen today. So much depended on Elena. What if she changed her mind? What if she woke up this morning and decided it was all too crazy? What if she did not show up? But when Marcus entered the main hall, his worries disappeared. Elena was already there. She was sitting in one of the red velvet seats in the front row, looking up at the stage. She wore simple clothes, dark pants and a blue sweater. Her gray hair was pulled back neatly. "Good morning," Marcus called out. His voice echoed in the empty hall. Elena turned and smiled. "Good morning. I hope it is okay that I came early. I was too nervous to wait at home." "I am glad you are here," Marcus said. He walked down the aisle toward her. "Did you sleep at all?" Elena laughed. It was a soft musical laugh. "Maybe 2 hours. I kept thinking about the music, about what we are going to do. Part of me still thinks this is a dream." "It is not a dream," Marcus assured her. "But I need to tell you something. The director of the concert hall is coming at 10. She needs to hear you play before she will approve the change to tonight's program." Elena's smile faded a little. "She wants to audition me? Like I am a student?" "I know it seems unfair," Marcus said. "But try to understand. She has a responsibility to the audience. She needs to know that what we are planning will work. Once she hears you, there will be no question." "I promise," Elena nodded slowly. "Okay, I understand. But Marcus, what if I cannot do it? What if last night was just luck? What if today I play badly?" Marcus sat down next to her. "Do you know why you played so beautifully last night?" "No," Elena admitted. "Because you played from your heart. You did not think about technique. You did not worry about mistakes. You just let the music come through you. All the pain, all the joy, all the loss, everything you have felt in your 67 years. That is what made it beautiful. He took her rough hand in his smooth one. Today you need to do the same thing. Just feel, just play. Trust yourself. Elena squeezed his hand. I will try. They went up on the stage together. Marcus had arranged for a second piano to be brought in. There were now 2 grand pianos on the stage, positioned so the pianists could see each other. I brought the sheet music, Marcus said. He pulled out 2 folders. This is the 2-piano arrangement of Rachmaninoff Concerto No. 2. Have you played this version before? No, Elena said. I always played with a full orchestra. But I have heard the 2-piano version. It is beautiful. They sat at their pianos, Marcus at one, Elena at the other. Marcus opened the sheet music and placed it on the piano. Elena did the same. Let us start with the first movement, Marcus suggested. We will play through it slowly first, just to get familiar with how we work together. Elena positioned her hands over the keys. Marcus did the same. They looked at each other. Marcus counted them in. 1, 2, 3, and they began to play. At first it was awkward. They had never played together before. They needed to learn each other's timing, their breathing, their interpretation. There were moments when they were not quite together, when one was slightly ahead or behind the other, but slowly, gradually they found their rhythm. They started to listen to each other, to feel each other's music. Marcus was amazed by how quickly Elena adapted. She would hear what he played and respond to it. She would shape her phrases to match his. It was like a conversation, a musical conversation. They played through the first movement. When they finished, Marcus was smiling. That was good. That was really good. We were not together in some places, Elena pointed out. That is normal. We just started. Let us try it again. They played the first movement 3 more times. Each time it got better. By the 4th time, they were perfectly synchronized. The music flowed between them like water. Then they moved to the second movement. This was the slow, beautiful part. The part that made people cry. Elena played it with such tenderness that Marcus found himself getting emotional. He had to concentrate hard to keep playing his part. When they finished, Elena wiped her eyes. I always cry at this movement, she said. Even when I am playing it. That is okay, Marcus said. That is what makes it real. They worked through the second movement several times. Then they started on the third movement. This was the fast, exciting finale. It required incredible technical skill from both pianists. Marcus was worried this might be too difficult for Elena after so many years of not performing, but he should not have worried. Elena's fingers flew across the keys. She played the complicated passages with ease, with joy. Her face was shining with happiness. When they finished the third movement, they were both out of breath. They looked at each other and laughed. That was amazing, Marcus exclaimed. Elena, you are incredible. Before Elena could respond, they heard clapping. They turned and saw Margaret standing at the back of the hall. She had arrived early. She must have been listening for several minutes. Margaret walked down the aisle slowly. Her face was unreadable. Marcus felt nervous. What was she thinking? When Margaret reached the front, she looked up at the stage. She looked at Elena for a long moment. Then she spoke. Play the second movement again, she said. Just that movement. I want to hear it one more time. Marcus looked at Elena. Elena nodded. They turned back to their pianos. This time, knowing that Margaret was listening, knowing that this was the audition, Elena played even more beautifully. She poured everything into it. All her sadness, all her longing, all her love for music that had sustained her through 30 years of silence. When the final notes faded away, there was silence. Margaret stood perfectly still. Her face was wet with tears. Finally she spoke. What is your name? She asked Elena. Elena Petrova. Elena answered quietly. Elena Petrova, Margarete repeated. She climbed the steps to the stage. She walked over to Elena. I have run this concert hall for 20 years.
I have heard the best pianists in the world.
But I have never heard anyone play with such feeling, such truth. She turned to Marcus. You were right. She is extraordinary. Then back to Elena. Where did you learn to play like this? Moscow Conservatory, Elena said. A long time ago. And why have you not been performing? Margaret asked. Because I have been cleaning your bathrooms, Elena said simply. Margaret's eyes went wide. You are one of our cleaners? For 15 years, Elena confirmed. Margaret shook her head in disbelief. How is this possible? How did no one know? Because no one asked, Elena said. There was no bitterness in her voice. Just truth. Margaret was quiet for a moment. Then she made a decision. Tonight you will perform. Both of you. The program will be changed. But Elena, we need to tell your story. The audience needs to understand who you are. Where you have been. Is that okay with you? Elena hesitated. I do not want pity. I do not want people to feel sorry for me. They will not pity you, Margaret promised. They will admire you. They will be inspired by you. Your story is important. It needs to be told. Elena looked at Marcus. He nodded encouragement. She took a deep breath. Okay, she said. You can tell my story. Margaret smiled. It was the first time Marcus had seen her really smile. Good. Now you two need to practice more. Tonight needs to be perfect. I will handle everything else. The publicity, the media, everything. The media? Elena looked alarmed. Yes, Margaret said. This is a big story. Woman who escaped Soviet oppression, worked as a cleaner for decades, returns to the stage. The newspapers will love it. The television will want to interview you. I do not think, Elena started. Trust me, Margaret interrupted gently. This story will give hope to people. It will show them that it is never too late. That talent does not disappear. That dreams can come true even after 30 years. She looked at her watch. I need to make phone calls. You two keep practicing. I will have lunch brought in for you. Do not leave this building until the concert. Margaret walked away quickly, already talking on her phone. Marcus and Elena looked at each other. This is getting very big, Elena said. She looked scared. Are you okay? Marcus asked. Elena thought about it. I think so. It is just, I have been invisible for so long. Now suddenly everyone will see me. It is strange, frightening. You do not have to do this, Marcus said. If it is too much, we can stop. We can tell Margaret no. Elena shook her head. No, I want to do this. I am just nervous. That is natural, yes? Very natural, Marcus agreed. I get nervous before every performance. But the nervousness goes away once you start playing. Then there is only the music. They spent the next 4 hours practicing. They played the entire concerto 6 more times. Each time it got better, more cohesive, more beautiful. They were learning to breathe together, to think together, to be one musical unit instead of 2 separate pianists. During a break, lunch arrived. Sandwiches and fruit and tea. They ate on the stage, sitting on the floor like students. Tell me about you, Elena said. I have told you my story, but I know nothing about you except that you are famous. Marcus smiled. My story is not as interesting as yours. Tell me anyway, Elena insisted. So Marcus told her. He told her about growing up in California with strict parents, how they pushed him to practice piano for hours every day, how he won his first competition at age 7, how he went to Juilliard School of Music in New York, how he became famous young, how success came easy for him. Maybe too easy, he admitted. I never had to struggle. Everything always worked out. So I became arrogant. I thought I was special, better than other people. And now? Elena asked. Now I know I was wrong. Meeting you taught me that. You have more talent in your little finger than I have in my whole body, but you are humble, kind, despite everything that happened to you. Suffering teaches humility, Elena said. When you lose everything, you learn what is really important. Music is not about being better than others. It is about expressing truth. About connecting human hearts, Marcus nodded. He understood now. This was what his playing had been missing. Heart, soul, truth. He could play all the notes perfectly. But Elena could make people feel. At 5 o'clock, Margareta came back. The concert is in 3 hours, she said. Elena, I have something for you. She handed Elena a garment bag. You cannot perform in street clothes. I called a friend who owns a boutique. She sent over several dresses. Try them on and choose one you like. Elena took the bag hesitantly. I cannot afford. It is a gift, Margaret said firmly. Consider it payment for all the years you worked here without anyone appreciating who you really were. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. There is a dressing room backstage. Go change. We need to do something about your hair and makeup too. I have called someone to help with that. Elena looked overwhelmed. Marcus touched her arm. Go, he said gently. I will be here. Elena walked off stage carrying the garment bag. Margaret turned to Marcus. I have been making calls all day, she said. The newspapers want to write about this. The television wants to film the concert. I said yes to everything. Is that okay? It is okay with me, Marcus said. But you should ask Elena. I will, Margaret promised. But Marcus, I want you to know something. What you are doing tonight, giving up your spotlight to share it with Elena, that is a good thing. A noble thing. Most performers would not do that. Marcus shook his head. I am not being noble. I am being honest. Elena deserves this more than I do. Maybe both things are true, Margaret said. Over the next 2 hours, the concert hall transformed. Workers arrived to set up extra cameras for television. Journalists came and set up in the lobby. The hall started to fill with people. Excited chatter echoed through the building. Marcus went to his dressing room to change into his concert clothes. Black suit, white shirt, black tie, the traditional uniform of a classical pianist. When he was ready, he went to find Elena. He knocked on her dressing room door. Elena, can I come in? Yes, come in, she called. Marcus opened the door and stopped. He barely recognized Elena. She was wearing an elegant black dress, simple but beautiful. Her hair was styled nicely. She wore a little makeup. But it was her eyes that were different. They were shining, alive. You look beautiful, Marcus said. Elena blushed. I feel like Cinderella, going to the ball after cleaning the floors. You are Cinderella, Marcus agreed. But this is your ball, your night. Are you ready? Elena took a deep breath. I am terrified. My hands are shaking. Look. She held out her hands. They were trembling. That is adrenaline, Marcus said. It will help you perform. Trust me. There was a knock on the door. Margaret stuck her head in. 5 minutes, she said. The hall is completely full. Every seat, and there are people standing in the back. We have never had a crowd this big. When Margaret left, Elena looked at Marcus with panic in her eyes. What if I make a mistake? What if I forget the music? What if my hands freeze? Marcus took her hands in his. They were cold and shaking. Look at me, he said. Elena met his eyes. You are not going to make mistakes. But even if you do, it does not matter. What matters is that you play from your heart. That is what people will remember. Not the mistakes. The feeling. Elena nodded. Okay, I can do this. You can do more than do this, Marcus said. You are going to be magnificent. They walked together to the stage entrance. Through the curtain, Marcus could hear the audience talking, laughing, excited. He peeked out. The hall was packed. Every single seat was filled. People were standing along the walls. He saw camera crews set up in the back. Margaret appeared with a microphone. I am going to introduce you both, she said. I will tell Elena's story. Then you will come out and perform, ready? Marcus looked at Elena. She nodded, though her face was pale. Ready, Marcus said. Margarete walked out on stage. The audience quieted immediately. She stood at the microphone and began to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, Margaret said into the microphone. Her voice was clear and strong. Thank you for coming tonight. You purchased tickets expecting to hear Marcus Chen perform a solo recital, but tonight, you will witness something different, something special, something I believe you will remember for the rest of your lives. The audience was completely silent. Everyone was listening. Let me tell you a story, Margaret continued. 35 years ago, there was a young woman in Moscow. Her name was Elena Petrova. She was a brilliant pianist, a rising star. She had trained at the Moscow Conservatory. She performed with the Moscow Philharmonic. Everyone said she would become one of the greatest pianists of her generation. Marcus watched from backstage. Elena was beside him, listening to her own story being told to hundreds of people. But Elena made a choice, Margaret said. She chose freedom over fame. She chose truth over career. When the Soviet government tried to use her as propaganda, she refused. She spoke out. She said no, and because of that, her career was destroyed. She was blacklisted. Her name was erased. She became a ghost. The audience was completely still. You could hear a pin drop. Elena escaped to the West. She came to Vienna with nothing. No credentials. No recordings. No proof of who she had been. For 30 years, she has been invisible. For 15 of those years, she has worked right here in this building. As a cleaner. A murmur went through the audience. People were shocked. Last night, Margaret continued, something extraordinary happened. Marcus Chen asked Elena to play for him, as a joke, as a challenge. But when Elena sat down at the piano, something magical occurred. She played Rachmaninoff, and in that moment everyone who heard her realized that greatness had been walking among us all along. Invisible. Unnoticed. Cleaning our floors while dreaming of music. Margaret paused. The audience waited. Tonight, Elena Petrova returns to the stage. After 30 years of silence, she will play again. She will perform Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2 in its two-piano arrangement, with Marcus Chen accompanying her. This is not just a concert. This is a resurrection. This is proof that it is never too late. That talent does not die. That dreams deferred are not dreams denied. Margaret stepped back from the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marcus Chen and Elena Petrova. The applause was thunderous. It crashed over the stage like a wave. People rose to their feet. They were already giving a standing ovation, and the music had not even started yet. Marcus took Elena's hand. "This is it," he said. "Are you ready?" Elena squeezed his hand. Her eyes were bright with tears, but she was smiling. "I am ready." They walked out on stage together. The applause got even louder. Camera flashes went off. People were taking pictures on their phones. Some people in the audience were already crying. Elena looked out at the sea of faces. All these people had come to hear music. Her music. After 30 years of being invisible, she was seen. Really seen. They reached their pianos. Marcus waited for Elena to sit first. Then he sat at his piano. The applause continued. Marcus looked over at Elena. She was looking down at the keys, her hands hovering above them. She seemed to be in her own world now, preparing herself. Gradually, the applause faded. The audience sat down. The hall became quiet. The kind of quiet that only happens before something important. Marcus and Elena looked at each other. Marcus gave a small nod. Elena nodded back. They had practiced this moment many times. They knew exactly how to begin. Marcus placed his hands on the keys. Elena did the same. They took a breath together. And then they began. The opening notes of Rachmaninoff's Second Piano Concerto filled the hall. Elena's solo line was soft at first, hesitant like someone waking from a long sleep. Marcus's orchestral part supported her, gentle and subtle. Then the music began to build. Elena's playing grew stronger, more confident. Her fingers moved across the keys with increasing speed and power. The music swelled like a wave building in the ocean. Marcus watched her as he played. He saw her face transform. She was not an old woman anymore. She was not a cleaner. She was pure music, pure emotion, pure life. The first movement built to its powerful climax. The two pianos seemed to become one instrument. The sound was massive, filling every corner of the hall. People in the audience gripped their armrests. Some closed their eyes. Some cried openly. When the first movement ended, there was a moment of silence, then scattered applause. But Marcus and Elena did not pause. They moved immediately into the second movement. This was the heart of the piece, the slow, beautiful movement that everyone loved. Elena played it with such tenderness that it hurt to hear. Every note carried weight. Every phrase told a story. Marcus looked out at the audience as he played his part. He saw tears on many faces. He saw a woman in the third row with her hand over her heart. He saw an old man in the balcony with his eyes closed, lost in the music. This was what music was supposed to do. Not impress people with technical skill, not show off, but touch hearts. Remind people they were human. Remind them they could feel. Elena's tears were flowing freely now, but she did not stop playing. The tears seemed to make her playing even more beautiful, like she was pouring out 30 years of silence, 30 years of longing, 30 years of love for an art she thought she had lost forever. The second movement came to its quiet end. The final note hung in the air for a long moment. No one in the audience moved. They did not want to break the spell. Then, without pause, the third movement began. This was the exciting finale, fast, joyful, full of energy and life. Elena's playing transformed again. Now she was not sad. She was celebrating. Her fingers flew across the keys. Her face was shining with joy. This was the music of someone who had survived. Someone who had endured. Someone who had won. Marcus played his part with everything he had. He wanted to match Elena's energy. Her passion, Together, they created a sound that was bigger than both of them. The two pianos danced with each other, challenged each other, supported each other. The music raced toward its conclusion, faster and faster, louder and louder. The audience was on the edge of their seats. Many had never heard this piece performed live. They had never experienced this kind of power. And then, with a final crashing chord, it was over. The last notes echoed through the hall. Then silence, complete silence. Marcus and Elena sat at their pianos, breathing hard. Their hands rested on the keys. They had given everything. They had held nothing back for 3 seconds, maybe 4. The silence continued. Then the applause began. It started in the back, then spread forward like wildfire. Within seconds, every single person in the hall was on their feet, clapping, shouting, crying. The sound was deafening. Elena sat frozen at her piano. She looked stunned, like she could not believe this was real. Marcus stood up and walked over to her. He took her hand and helped her stand. Then he raised her hand high, showing the audience that this night belonged to her. The applause got even louder. People were stomping their feet, whistling, calling out "Brava, brava." Some people were jumping up and down. Elena looked out at all these people celebrating her music, celebrating her return. The tears were streaming down her face, but she was smiling. Really smiling. The kind of smile that comes from deep inside. Marcus led her forward. They took a bow together. Then he stepped back, leaving Elena alone at the front of the stage. She deserved this moment. She had earned it. The standing ovation continued for 10 minutes. Then 15. The audience would not stop. They did not want the moment to end. Some people were still crying. Others were hugging each other. Everyone felt like they had witnessed something profound. Finally, Elena held up her hand. She wanted to speak. Slowly, the applause died down. People sat down, but they were still smiling, still wiping tears. Elena walked to the microphone. She looked tiny standing there. But her voice when she spoke was strong. "Thank you," she said simply. Her accent was thick, but her words were clear. "For 30 years, I thought my life as a musician was over. I thought I would never play again. Not like this, not for people who wanted to hear." She paused, emotion making her voice shake. "I want to say something to everyone here tonight, and to everyone watching on television. It is never too late. Whatever dreams you have put away, whatever talents you have hidden, it is never too late to bring them back. I am 67 years old. I am an old woman. But tonight I felt young again. I felt alive again. People in the audience were nodding. Many were crying again. I also want to thank Marcus Chen," Elena continued. She turned to look at him. He did not have to do this. He could have kept his concert for himself. But he chose to share it with me. He chose to lift up someone who the world had forgotten. That takes courage. That takes a good heart. "Thank you, Marcus." She began to cry again. Marcus walked over and hugged her. The audience erupted in applause once more. When the applause finally ended, Margaret came back on stage. "We have time for one more piece," she announced. "If you would like to hear it." The audience shouted, "Yes." Some people clapped. They wanted more. They were not ready for this night to end. Elena looked at Marcus. "What should we play?" Marcus thought for a moment. Then he smiled. "Play whatever you want, solo. This is your night. Play something just for you." Elena nodded. "Maybe both," Marcus agreed. They were quiet for a moment. Then Elena spoke again. "Marcus, I want to thank you. Really thank you. You gave me back something I thought was lost forever. You gave me back myself." "You were never lost," Marcus said. "You were always there. Always a musician. Always great. I just helped people see it." Elena reached over and took his hand. "You did more than that. You changed. Yesterday you were arrogant. Cruel even. Today you are different. Kinder, more humble. What happened?" Marcus thought about this. "I think I realized something. Being talented is not enough. Being famous is not enough. What matters is how you treat people. How you use your gifts. I was wasting mine. Using my talent to feel superior. To put other people down. That was wrong. And now?" Elena asked. "Now I want to be different. I want to be better. I want to use my music to help people. To lift them up, not put them down." Elena smiled. "You will be. You already are." They sat together a while longer. Then Marcus helped Elena gather her things. He walked her out to where a taxi was waiting. Margaret had arranged it. Elena would not take the bus home tonight. Before she got in the taxi, Elena hugged Marcus one more time. "See you soon?" she asked. "See you very soon," Marcus promised. "We have more music to make together." The taxi drove away. Marcus watched until the red taillights disappeared around a corner. Then he walked to his own car. The streets of Vienna were quiet. It was past midnight. Most people were home sleeping. But Marcus felt wide awake, energized, changed. He drove home slowly, thinking about everything that had happened. 2 days ago, his life had seemed perfect. He was successful, famous, wealthy. But he had been empty inside, hollow. His music had been technically perfect, but emotionally dead. Now everything was different. He had met Elena. He had learned what real music sounded like, what real courage looked like, what real humility looked like. When he got home, Marcus did not go to bed. Instead, he sat at his piano, his own piano in his apartment. He placed his hands on the keys and began to play. He played the same Chopin nocturne that Elena had played tonight, but he tried to play it the way she had, with feeling, with truth, with his whole heart. It was not perfect. He made mistakes, but it was honest. It was real, and that mattered more than being perfect. The next morning, Marcus woke up to his phone ringing constantly. Everyone wanted to talk about last night's concert. His agent, other musicians, concert halls from around the world. But the call that mattered most came from Elena. "Have you seen the newspapers?" she asked. She sounded excited. "Not yet," Marcus said. "Why?" "We are on the front page. Every newspaper in Vienna. Maybe every newspaper in Europe. Look online." Marcus opened his laptop. Elena was right. The concert was everywhere. The cleaning woman who became a star. A phoenix rises from the ashes. The return of Elena Petrova. There were videos too. Someone had recorded the whole concert on their phone. It had been posted online. Already millions of people had watched it. The comments were overwhelming. People from all over the world were inspired by Elena's story. Over the next few days, the story spread even further. Television shows wanted to interview Elena. Concert halls wanted to book her. Recording companies wanted to make an album. Music schools wanted her to teach. Elena was overwhelmed. She met with Marcus and Margaret to figure out what to do. They helped her sort through all the offers. They helped her make good decisions. In the end, Elena decided to focus on teaching. She accepted the position at the Vienna Concert Hall. She would teach young pianists 3 days a week. The other days, she would practice and occasionally perform. She also agreed to record one album. It would include Rachmaninoff's Second Concerto, the piece that had brought her back to life. The album would tell her story. It would inspire other people who had given up on their dreams. Marcus and Elena became close friends. They performed together several more times. But more importantly, they helped each other grow as musicians and as people. Marcus learned humility from Elena. He learned that true greatness comes not from being better than others, but from being authentic, from being real. His playing changed. It became warmer, more emotional, more human, and strangely, audiences loved him even more than before. 6 months after that first concert, they performed together at a charity event. The event raised money for refugees and immigrants, for people who had lost everything and were trying to start over, just like Elena had done 30 years ago. The concert hall was full again, but this time half the audience was made up of refugees, people who had fled war and persecution, people who had left their homes with nothing, people who needed hope. When Elena played that night, she played for them. She played to show them that survival was possible, that you could lose everything and still find beauty, still find joy, still find yourself. After the concert, many people came up to Elena. They thanked her. They told her their stories. A doctor from Syria who was now driving a taxi, a teacher from Afghanistan who was cleaning hotels, a musician from Sudan who had not touched his instrument in 5 years. Elena listened to each story. She cried with them. She hugged them. And she told them the same thing. It is never too late. Never give up. Your dreams are still alive inside you. 1 year after that first concert, Elena stood on the same stage where she had once cleaned the piano keys. But this time, she was there as a teacher. She was introducing her students at their first recital. These students were not the usual young prodigies from wealthy families. They were the children of immigrants, the children of refugees, the children of cleaners and taxi drivers and factory workers, children who loved music but never thought they would get a chance to learn. Elena had started a special program for them, free piano lessons for anyone who wanted to learn, no matter their background, no matter their age, no matter their circumstances. As Elena watched her students perform, she thought about her journey. From a child prodigy in Moscow to a blacklisted artist. From a refugee with nothing to a cleaner pushing a cart. From invisible to visible. From silence to heard. It had been a long road. A hard road. But she would not change any of it. Because every experience had shaped her. Every loss had made her stronger. Every tear had made her music more beautiful. Marcus sat in the audience watching Elena with her students. He saw the way she encouraged them. The way she believed in them. The way she saw their potential when others saw nothing. He thought about how much his life had changed since meeting Elena. He was still successful, still famous. But now those things meant less to him. What mattered was that he was a better person, a kinder person, a more honest artist. After the recital, Marcus joined Elena on stage. They were going to perform a duet together. They had done this many times now, but it never got old. Every time they played together, it felt new, special, right. They sat at their pianos. The audience quieted. Elena looked at Marcus and smiled. He smiled back. Then together they began to play. The music filled the concert hall. It rose up to the ceiling. It flowed out into the streets. It touched everyone who heard it. Because it was not just music. It was a story. A story about second chances, about redemption, about the power of one moment to change everything. It was the story of a pianist who learned humility, and a cleaner who remembered she was a musician. It was a story about seeing people for who they really are, about looking past the surface, about recognizing greatness in unexpected places, but most of all it was a story about hope, because if Elena could survive 30 years of silence and still come back stronger, then anyone could. If one cruel joke could turn into the opportunity of a lifetime, then anything was possible. If an old cleaning woman could become a star again, then dreams really do come true. As the final notes of their duet faded away, the audience rose to their feet once more. Not because they were supposed to, not because it was polite, but because they meant it, because they had witnessed something true. Elena and Marcus stood together and bowed. Two musicians, two friends, two people who had changed each other's lives forever. Outside, the sun was setting over Vienna. The sky was orange and pink, just like it had been that first evening when Marcus heard Elena play. But everything else was different now. Everything was better. Because sometimes life gives you second chances. Sometimes one moment of courage can change everything. And sometimes the most extraordinary people are the ones we walk past every day without seeing. Elena had been invisible for 30 years. But she was invisible no longer. She had found her voice again. She had reclaimed her place in the world. And she had shown everyone that it is never, ever too late to come back to life. The concert hall emptied slowly that night. People did not want to leave. They wanted to hold on to the feeling a little longer. The feeling that anything was possible, that dreams could come true. That hope was real. And as the last person walked out into the Vienna night, the concert hall fell silent. But it was not an empty silence. It was full of music, full of memories, full of the ghost of a cleaning woman who became a star. The piano sat on the stage waiting. Tomorrow Elena would come back to teach. She would guide young hands on the keys. She would share her knowledge, her experience, her heart. But tonight the piano could rest. It had done its job.